my name is Cynthia Gallaher, and today I'd like to talk about investigative poetry. And investigative poetry, in part, is using research to enhance your poetry. And a lot of people say, well, you should write about what you know. But I think you should write about what you want to know about. And to write those things that you'd like to discover more about. And it may start with personal experience, and you can go from there to enhance a personal experience that you may want to talk about in a poem with more researched information. And it's amazing sometimes what you can uncover when you research things that you may not even have imagined before. Now, the term investigative poetry was coined by the poet Ed Sanders back in 1976. And Ed Sanders is not to be confused with Ned Flanders of the Simpsons animated TV series, but Ed Sanders was a poet who kind of bridged the gap between the Beat generation and the hippie generation. And he felt that investigative poetry was something, it's kind of multi-layered according to him, but he said that really all the great extended poems of the 20th century, like The Wasteland and The Bridge, the Cantos, William Carlos Williams Patterson, those poems all required historical research. And there's a romantic notion that we are fed by inspiration and not study. But it's a myth. Why can't poets rewrite history, and in fact, by doing so, make history? And Sanders kind of talked about rewriting history as poets. There's so many different versions of what history might be, and we can kind of tap from that, take our own knowledge, our own opinions, and our own images, and really make it more accessible to people as well. We're living through our own histories. We're living in historic times right now, and it's important that poets put their stamp on it. What's their own experience and what's happened? What have we gained from the news, or some experience or event that we've gone to that has historic potential? And also, just writing a poem can make history, like Ginsberg's Howl has really changed. It was kind of the banner for a whole generation. A lot of us maybe can't do that, but go out there and try. You never know what's going to happen with your poetry. With my own poetry, I wrote a poem about salt, and it's not so. Who wants to write about salt? Well, I'm interested in writing about a lot of culinary types of things. I've written a book called Epicurean Ecstasy. I wrote a book called Drenched for Main Street Rag, and there's a poem about salt in there because 97% of our waters are salt water. And what did I do? I had an interest in salt already, but I read books like Lot's Wife, Salt and the Human Condition. There's all these other books, countless books about salt and pepper that I read, and it really enhanced what I already knew about poetry. Hey. And that I not knew about poetry, that I knew about salt, and it really made a difference. And I think one of the things is that back in the day, people craved salt. They needed salt. They had you couldn't live without salt, and now we have too much salt. So that's what my poem was about. I also have another poem about sweet potatoes, and I talk about how ugly they are and muddy they look and decrepit, that we pull them from the ground. And they have, actually, from my research, I found out that beyond Thanksgiving, that sweet potatoes really can sustain someone through the whole winter. You could just live on sweet potatoes and get so much nourishment from those. So that's, that went into my poems too. One of the other books that I've been reading lately and is a Buddhist book by the author, the Vietnamese Buddhist Thich Nhat not Han, and it's the heart of the Buddhist teaching. And I'm not a Buddhist, but I'm a Christian, but I love to read books about other religions and philosophies. And there is a philosophy in here, in Buddhism, that's called the investigation of phenomena. And it's the second factor of awakening. And it says in the book, we humans love to investigate things. Often we want the results of our investigation to fit a certain mold or prove a certain theory. But at times, we are open and allow things to simply reveal themselves. And with mindfulness, investigation takes us deeply into life and into reality. And this is more about observation, making more, sitting and being observant. And that's one of your roles as a poet, to have a curious mind, to be an investigative type of person to begin with, your curiosity. So I think that's about all I have to say today. And hey, go out there and investigate.